Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to online classes. Social studies class 10th you are going to see now. So welcome. Chapter 12, The World During World Wars. So the chapter name, The World During the World Wars. So the topics that are covered in this total chapter are the 20th century, the age of extremes, causes for the World War I you are going to see, the Treaty of Versailles 1919, the League of Nations, the Russian Socialist Revolution 1917 to 1922, the Economic Depression 1929 to 1923, 1933, the rise of fascism and Nazism, causes for the World War II, causes for the World War I and World War II. Both you can understand in this lesson. The defeat and the end, the consequences of the World War. So these are the chapter topics that are covered in this total chapter now. So the important developments of the 20th century. So some important developments took place in the 20th century. So what are they? We shall see now. Eric Hobsbawm, a historian, called the 20th century the age of extremes. So you can see the picture there, Eric Hobsbawm. He called the 20th century as age of extremes. So age of extremes. Why did he name 20th century that? Because there occurred many changes in 20th century. So, what are the changes? We shall see. The world saw shots of democratic aspirations grow amidst the rise of fascist demolition. That means variety of changes took place. Yes. And the third one, the average life expectancy and literacy levels grew immensely. Yes, life expectancy and compared to 19th 18th and 17th century, in 20th century they grew, and literacy levels also grew immensely. That is, more people are encouraged to study. Now new forms of art like movies emerged. So even movies entered in this time. In the field of science, new discoveries were made about life and atoms. So in field of science, new discoveries are also made, and main importantly, women got right to vote in this period. So women also got their right to vote in this period, and there are few other even more changes took place in 20th century. So Eric Hobsbawm, remember the name Eric Hobsbawm, named 20th century as the age of extremes. They can be asked a long answer question. The age of extremes. Why did he call 20th century as age of extremes? Means the points all. Now you can see here there are 12 points. Those all you need to attempt. So now literally more than 100 nations became independent all over the world. So literally more than 100 nations became independent. This was also an age of great expectations. Socialist societies came up where people live with equality and fraternity. So this is the age of great expectations. You can also write age of great expectations. And socialist societies came up and people are living happily with equality and fraternity. So there is no inequality in 20th century. So that is a change. Some countries adopted liberal democracy and a capitalist economy. So few of the countries, not all but few, they adopted liberal democracy and capitalist economy. So this period saw the Great Depression causing massive unemployment and economic breakdown. So this period saw the Great Depression causing massive unemployment and economic breakdown. So as the world divided into two enemy groups, so the world totally as one divided into two enemy groups or blocks, there took place two world wars in which millions died and the lives of many more millions were dislocated. So many people died and in the world wars, and the world has divided into two enemy groups or blocks, and then the world war started. Hence, the 20th century was a period of great expectations, experiments, and dangerous developments. Not only good changes, there are also bad changes. So, you can see in the 10th point, there is unemployment also. it was a great depression also, and economic breakdown. So some in few points you can see good changes, and in few points you can see bad changes. So that's why Henrik Hobsbawm named 20th century, many changes occurred that may be good or bad, so he named as age of extremes. So now we shall see another topic. So now the timeline. Important incidents during first half of the 20th century. So the 20th century itself divided into two halves, first half and second half. Yes, and the timeline, you can, if you know this table, if you learn this table perfectly, that is very easy for you in the bits or on writing question answers in the examination point of view. So beginning of First World War was in 1914. So First World War began in 1914. So Russian Revolution in 1917. Remember Russian Revolution 1917. End of First World War. First World War was ended in 1918. Treaty of Versailles in 1919. Treaty of Versailles 1919. Formation of USSR. Formation of USSR was formed in 1922, and the Great Depression was occurred in 1929. 1929, Hitler becomes the Chancellor of Germany. Hitler becomes in 1933. He becomes the Chancellor of Germany. And beginning of Second World War is in 1939. Second World War began in 1939, and end of Second World War is 1945, and formation of UNO is 1945. So both the same year, end of Second World War and formation of UNO was in 1945. So this is the timeline in the important incidents happened during the first half of the 20th century. So First World War, Second World War, formation of USSR and UNO, and so on. So that is a very important table. So causes of World War One. So what are the causes of World War One? We shall see. So First World War One was occurred between the years 1914 to 1918. 1914 to 1918. Now the causes or the reasons for World War One. Why World War has occurred? So because of aggressive nationalism, imperialism, secret alliances, militarism, Balkan politics, and immediate cause. So six main reasons for the causes of World War One. So what are they? Aggressive nationalism, imperialism, secret alliances, militarism, Balkan politics, and immediate cause. So we shall see one by one in detail and know about them and the reasons of the World War One. Now, causes of World War One. So we have seen what are the causes. Now we shall see in detail about them. Aggressive nationalism, imperialism. So what is aggressive nationalism? So the first point, the idea of nationalism was a positive impulse. So what is this nationalism? Now if I say I love my country, that is the nationalism. If someone from other country say that they love their country, that is the nationalism. That the love or and respect towards their nation, that is a nationalism. That is a positive impulse. Now, but this idea could also be used to create pride in oneself and hatred against neighbors. Now if I say I love my country, and if other country people say I love their country, then if I say again I love my country is greater, and if I say greatness of my country, that they feel that their country is bad. So this creates fight, this creates war, this creates dispute between the two countries or nations. So it creates pride in oneself and hatred against neighbors. So against neighbors it creates a lot of disputes. So even though the ideology of nationalism was a positive impulse, this create pride against oneself and hatred against neighbors. So now third point, Italian fascism from 1923 and National Socialism of German Nazis were the other forms of aggressive Nazism in destructive mode. Now in aggressive nationalism we have seen 2 points, and the third point is about Italian fascism from 1923 and National Socialism of German. So German and Italy. So you can see both two countries, Italy has fascism and Germany has Nazism. So these two are the words which you are going to know after in the going chapter. Now, there were the other forms of aggressive Nazism in destructive mode. Even they, like this nationalism, they causes destruction. That means it brings a war because of this Nazism and fascism between Italy, Germany, like other socialism, that like the thing. So this is all about the aggressive nationalism. Now second one is imperialism. By the end of 19th century there was a race of colonies between European powers. So by the end of 19th century there was a race of colonies between the European powers. Now the European people came to India and came to even other countries also to colony them. So India is a colony for them. Like that, many countries were the colonies of the European powers by the end of the 19th century. So as new industrial powers like Japan, Germany, and Italy emerged, they wanted to redivide the colonies. Now, Japan, Germany, and Italy were also added, that they emerged. That means the European powers also wanted to redivide the colonies. So, now India, they treated India as a colony, but again in India, they divided many colonies. So, in that way, they redivided colonies because of the some emerged countries. So, next point is, this created much stress, often leading to wars. So in imperialism, that they wanted to redivide the colonies, this created much stress, often leading to war. So again there was a dispute between the people, and that led to war. So they fight and that leads to war. So there is no such a solution for that. So this is imperialism, and we saw two: aggressive nationalism and imperialism. Now third and fourth and remaining we shall see. Secret alliances. Now in these 2 points are there. Triple alliances and triple entity made the European powers jealous and suspicious of one another. So triple alliances, we have triple alliances and triple entity. These two are the two groups. Yes, the European powers jealous and suspicious of one another. So these two are very jealous of each other and wanted to have war always. So instead of real peace, these alliances created an atmosphere of fear and armed peace in Europe. In Europe, there were two groups, right? Triple alliances and triple entity. They were very jealous and they cannot bear themselves. That means they always come to fight. And instead of real peace, they created the atmosphere very dangerous of fear. The people in the Europe country used to fear a lot because of these two groups. They used to cause very harm to the people and the country. So this is about the secret alliances. Now militarism. Each country built massive standing armies and competed with each other in increasing armaments. Yet armaments. Now militarism is all about the military. That means the wealth, not wealth, it is the power of the country. Yes, each country built massive standing armies. That means they were encouraging people to join in military. Yes, to compete with other countries or for any reason. Yes, they build an increasing armaments. That means more amount of people in military should be there. That the military expenditure of six big powers increased by over 300. That means the many people are entering into military and the expenditure is also increased. Six big powers increased over 300%. Now the race for armaments and stockpiling of war materials created tensions in the world, as they wanted to do war and they need a sword and other few items to do the war, like weapons or swords or some few war materials created tension in the country. So this created tension in the country. Now you can see the picture there, the armaments race, military expenditure by great powers. So you can see Germany, Austria, Hungary, Britain, Russia, Italy and France, 1882 1914. So you can see there one is small and then it was increasing by 1914. So this is all about militarism. So now we shall see the other one. So now Balkan politics. There were many small kingdoms in the Balkan Peninsula. So Balkan is a place, name of the place, Peninsula place. Yes, there were small kingdoms in that peninsula, Balkan Peninsula. They were under the Ottoman Turkey Empire. So the small kingdoms, the Balkan Peninsula was under the Ottoman Turkey Empire. Austria, Germany, Turkey, and Russia competed for the supremacy over the area. So these few countries wanted to take over that area as their control, as they want to rule them. So what are the countries? Austria, Germany, Turkey, and Russia. They wanted to take the Balkan Peninsula place, which is under Ottoman Turkey Empire. So there was always tension situation around that region. So the people always used to fear that the few countries like Austria, Germany, when they compete over that, they may cause any war or some there won't be peace in that area, right? So there was always tension situated in the area. So this is Balkan politics. So Balkan politics is the Balkan is the area, and the politics means to compete that area. It is a politics. So Balkan politics. So now immediate cause: the murder of the crown prince Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Bosnian Serb on June 28, 1914 was the immediate cause for the outbreak of World War I. So this is very big, but you can understand very easily. The murder of the crown prince. So crown prince means who is the king. Yes, the king name was Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. He was of Austria. And then now Hungary by a Bosnian Serb. Now it was taken, the murder. Who did the murder of Archduke Bosnian Serb is the you can think king of Hungary. Now he was murdered by the France member of Austria. Now on June, this was happened on 1914 on June 28th. It was an immediate cause for the outbreak of World War I. As if in our country, if someone was killed by other countries, we get angry, right? So we'll declare any war or something, right? Before they used to declare war. So this is all about the Balkan politics and immediate cause and the causes of the World War I. So now we have seen detail. So now course of the World War I. So what is this course? The assassination of Crown Prince Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was the immediate cause of the World War I. We have seen that point before. Now, when Austria asked for an explanation, the unsatisfactory reply given by Serbia made Austria to declare war on Serbia on 28th July 1914. Now, when Austria asked for explanation, the king of Austria was murdered, right? Now, the Austria people or government asked for explanation for unsatisfactory reply by Serbia. Now, if they ask any question about that situation, the Serbia that is Hungary is not giving any reply, and it is giving unsatisfactory reply. Now, that made Austria to declare war on Serbia. Now, Austria got angry on Serbia because they have killed and not giving a particular answer. Yes, so that Austria declared war on Serbia on 28th July 1914. Now, later the allies of Serbia and Russia supported their group. Now, Serbia is on one side and Austria is on one side. So, few of the countries came to help those two countries. So, in 1917, Russia withdrew with the war, and US jumped into war when Germany troops sunk US commercial ship Lusitania in 1919. Finally, Allied powers became victorious in the war, and Germany was defeated in the war. So now these two, Serbia and Austria, were supported few of the groups. Now in 1917, Russia withdrew from the war and US jumped into the war. Now Russia had a war with US actually, and it was jumped into war when Germany troops sunk US commercial ship Lusitania. Now Germany is a country, right, and US also is a country. Now Germany, what it did is it took the US commercial ship, the name Lusitania, and it was the troops was sunk. Germany troops sunk. So they sunk in 1919. Yes, that was happened. Now finally, Allied powers became victorious. Now Allied powers means the two countries became victorious in the war, and Germany was defeated. And then the Germany was defeated in the war. So now we shall see the other one. So the next topic is the world after the World War. So what happened after the World War One? Now we have seen the causes of the World War One and the course of World War One and so on. Now after World War One, what happened actually? The Treaty of Versailles happened in 1919. The time period of World War One is between 1914 to 1918, and in 1919 the Treaty of Versailles happened. That means after the World War One. Now in 1919 the biggest peace conference was held at Versailles to end the First World War. Now in 1918 itself the World War was completed, and in the biggest peace conference was held at Versailles. Why it was conducted to end the First World War in 1919. Now it was attended by 32 national delegations. That program was attended by 32 national delegations. Here delegations means you can take it as a country, like 32 countries are attended, like that you can think. Now the Germany felt it was humiliation for them, and they had no respect and responsibility for it. Now Germany was defeated in the war, in the First World War One, which was defeated, Germany was defeated. And after they conducted this Treaty of Versailles, which was attended by 32 national delegations, this Germany had felt very sad, and it has no respect, right? So it felt very sad about what was happening there. Now the next topic we shall see, terms and conditions of Treaty of Versailles. Now what are the terms and conditions for the Treaty of Versailles? Territorial penalties, military cuts, war indemnity. So 3, territorial penalties, military cuts, war indemnity. Now territorial penalties. The first one, Germany was asked to return all her colonies and Alsace and Lorraine to France. Now as Germany was defeated, yes, Germany was defeated and it felt very shame and had no respect. We have seen the last point. Now Germany was asked to return all her colonies. Now Germany has few of the colonies, right? It was asked to return all the colonies and Lassac and Lorraine to France. And these two are these very special names, especially they gave Lassac and Lorraine to, which they have to give to France. So that is territorial penalties. Now second one, military cuts. Reduce Germany's army strength to 1 million from 9 millions. So before Germany was defeated, Germany's army strength was 9 millions. But as it was defeated, the army strength they reduced to 1 million. So that much difference, nearly 8 million. So stop using of submarines and limit naval power. So they have to, as they are defeated, there were many problems they were facing as they are defeated. So they reduced army strength, and they took all the colonies they have, and they have to not use submarines, and they have to use limited naval power. So these all the restrictions and terms and conditions of the Treaty of Versailles to the Germany. Now war indemnity, that means Germany had to pay war indemnity or compensation to the victorious allies. That means because of the Germany, as Germany was defeated in the war, it has to give all what are the how much cost did the war happen, those all the money Germany is responsible. So Germany is responsible for the war, so it has to give money, huge huge amount of money to the victorious allies. So now finally Germany felt Treaty of Versailles as a humiliation and was waiting for a chance to take revenge. Now Germany was felt very bad and had no respect, and Treaty of Versailles was a humiliation for that, and it was waiting for a chance to take revenge. To take revenge on whom? To take the revenge on the victorious allies. So that means which the country which has won the war. So it want to take the revenge. It was waiting for a chance, Germany. So now the League of Nations that was happened in 1920. That means immediately after the 1919. That means that after the Treaty of Versailles, the League of Nations was. What is this League of Nations? It is an international organization, first ever internal organization. So we'll see the points. On 11th January 1920, the League of Nations, the first ever international organization, was set up by Treaty of Versailles. Who set up this first ever international organization? Treaty of Versailles. Now, the architect or founder of League of Nations was Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson. He was the American president. The founder or the architect of League of Nations is Woodrow Wilson. He was the American president at that time. Yes. Now, the headquarters of League of Nations was at Geneva in Switzerland. So, the head of League of Nations was in Geneva. That was in Switzerland. Now, in 1934, it had only 58 members. So in here members means countries. Remember that, countries or nations. In 1934, first they set up this in 1920. In 1934, there were only 58 members. That means 58 nations or countries. Russia, Germany, and US were not the members of League of Nations. Think why Russia, Germany, and US were not the League of Nations? Because they were defeated. Yes, they were defeated and they didn't join this League of Nations. The main countries itself in the world didn't take a part in League of Nations. Yes, even we said that the founder is the American president of the League of Nations. Even that country was not a part of League of Nations. Yes. Now, the aims and objectives of League of Nations. What are the aims and objectives of League of Nations? To prevent wars by trying to settle disputes to negotiations. That means they want to prevent wars. They want to have peace in the country, in the world, you can say. To ensure disarmament or reduce manufacturing of arms. As there will be no war going on, they should also ensure or reduce, not totally closed, they have to reduce manufacturing of arms. Arms means here you can think weapons. Yes. To work for development, labor welfare, and health. So it will work for development in the world or in a country or in a nation, labor welfare and health, and some of the social issues. League of Nations has limited success initially but failed to prevent the Second World War. So in League of Nations, it thought that they had to prevent wars, but when they started this League of Nations, they could control some, but they were successful to a little extent. But after that, they were failed to stop the World War II, Second World War. They were failed to stop that. So this is the end of this part 1, and also do watch part 2. And this is a very long chapter, I have divided them into parts. So thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.